Thank you, Tamara. Like Tamara said, my name is Almai. I will go ahead and discuss budgets. Let me go ahead and go to the next slide. We'll be talking about budgets, how to import them, tips and tricks, and a little bit of troubleshooting, and then we'll end it off with a live demo. So I guess starting from the beginning, some of the prerequisites that we would need for the budgets in Sage Intacct would be just making sure our reporting periods exist and there's no types of overlapping going on. So an example I have down below, we have January, February, March, and then as well as Q1. So that overlapping of Q1, Q1 includes January, February, March. So that Q1 will not, be used. So that January, February, and March should be just fine. The second part to that is the accounts. Just making sure that those account descriptions and they're correct first and foremost, and secondly that they are in the right format. There have been, countless times with accounts not being correct, and they will give you errors, and then you will get that email notification saying that it needs to be corrected before it can be imported in. And then lastly is your dimensions, whether using locations, departments, maybe employee for more details, just making sure that those are all added into your budget template. Next is preparing your CSV file. So we would like to download the latest budget import. If we're starting from scratch, we would download the template. If we're not starting from scratch, then we'll go ahead and download the previous budget template, which has all of the GL account numbers, maybe the locations, the departments. So it's kind of already pre-loaded for you. And then next, we're going to go ahead and review those columns, making sure the descriptions are correct. They're all in the right format. Anything that says required has been, populated as well. And we'll take a look at that and how that template looks like in just a few moments. Once we get that all populated, we want to go ahead and save that as a CSV file. I know there's a few different types of CSVs. We just want to save it as a plain CSV. I know there's like a CSV-8 and another one out there too. Just to be safe and not, run across any types of issues, let's just save it as a plain CSV. We would like to keep that. I usually keep it open just because if there are any type of errors or any troubleshooting I need to do, I'll go ahead and make my changes, resave it, and re-import it in again. And then how to get to the budgets and importing those budgets. There'll be a budget module, and then within that, you'll go to all, you go to your budget repository, and then click on import. When you do click on import, there is a little link that will show you to download the template if this is maybe your first time or you just want to start a new budget template. Then it'll say select file. You'll select that CSV file. Again, making sure that that file is a CSV format and not an Excel format. You want to make sure that your dates are correct, the file encoding is correct, as well as the value delimiter. You'll have your email entered there. This is when it does import, it imports offline. As you know, you have an option for some of the other modules where you can do offline or online. This one is an offline. So you'll get that notification whether it has been successful or there is some type of error that needs to be fixed. And then you'll just click on import. And then it should not take more than a few minutes. I just tested it not too long ago as well, just making sure. And yeah, it didn't take me that long. Few key tips for budget imports. making sure that all accounts and dimensions exist, as well as the entities. If they do not, you'll get that error, and you can go ahead and go back and update it in Sage Intacct. Use sequential line item numbers to prevent errors, ensuring your headers names match the template exactly. Again, there's been multiple times that we've had issues with the names not being correct, or it could be case sensitive, and I have another slide that kind of goes into a little bit more detail on that. And then lastly, just checking your notification on your email. You'll get a file if you do get an error stating which lines are incorrect, as well as that email will give you a description on the errors to correct. So let's start out with the first troubleshooting. Say if I have an invalid budget ID, what do I need to do? How do I fix it? So it's just as easy as just making sure that budget ID in that column is the same budget ID in Sage Intacct. Again, making sure it is, not case sensitive. For example, down below it says the current budget, you enter current dash budget in your spreadsheet, so you don't have any type of failure. Next one is the GL accounts that are not valid. Maybe they're a new GL account or they've been inactive. So you'll just go back into the GL, go to the general ledger accounts, and either enter the new GL account or go ahead and click on that little checkbox where it says not active and you need to reactivate those. We'll go ahead and reactivate it and then save it, and then we'll go ahead and re-import that in. Duplicate the budget account for a period. So this pretty much means if you have a GL account only and you have 2 rows for that same account, so that example that is showing is 4010, and because you have the same exact GL account, it will give you an error. And then if you're budgeting with accounts and dimensions and you have the same exact 2 rows and the combination of those accounts and dimensions, it would also give you an error. The best thing you could do is just going into your Excel spreadsheet and just removing duplicates. I tend to choose all the cells or the columns that may be used multiple times. So the GL, maybe the dimensions. I'll just highlight those and just remove duplicates. And then lastly is the reporting periods are incorrect or missing. Just again, going back, verifying that the reporting periods have been added, and I'll show you another tip on that shortly on how we can just make sure that we're not ever, missing any reporting period, but also making sure that those reporting period headers are correct in your file as well. Okay, let me go ahead and hop into Sage Intacct. Go ahead and talk about a few things. Okay. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that my budget is used as that default. So as you guys can see here, let me zoom in a tad bit. It is small. I have my master budget for 2025, and it is checked off as the default. I will go ahead and show you one more part to this. I can always go to my company, setup, import data. That's where we get all the templates. I have my budgets here, so I have my template here. I could as well, import it into Sage Intacct, as well as create a new one, right? So if I'm ready to create a new budget ID, I can just put budget 2026, And let's just copy and paste that ID to the description as well. I want to say if I want to just create a new one, I can go ahead and click on this. If I want to create the budget from existing, then I can do that as well. If you have multi-currencies, you'll go ahead and select the currency that you would like that budget to be in. And then scrolling down just to see the reporting periods right here. So what I tend to do is I click default. If we take a look at it right now, I believe, yeah. So we only have it to 2025. So if we're on that year of 2025 and I want to, just make sure that that new reporting period has been created, I would just go ahead and go back to import data, reporting periods down below, and I'll click on default and then create. And this one will create that next year reporting periods for me. So let's go ahead and take a look again. I should have 2026, and there it is. Okay. Now let's head back to the budget. So we want to go to budget repository. We want to go ahead and click on import since I went ahead and created my file. Let me open that up for you. Oops. Okay. So I just started as a blank Excel template for my budget. So I chose my budget ID. It matches my budget ID to Sage Intacct. I have my GL account numbers, my department ID, my department location ID as well. Just making sure that these are both, populated by the ID and not the name. And I will show you how that looked like earlier when I did have the name of the location versus the actual ID and the error I received. For any of the other dimensions that I needed to add, I can go ahead and add it into here. So I have some of the examples are class ID, customer ID, vendor ID, employee ID, and so on. What I also tend to do is anything that is required, I'll highlight this cell where it says required yes or no, and then I'll go ahead and select conditional formatting, highlight cell, text that contain, and then I will put required, yes. So then I'll just highlight exactly what is required for me, and I'll scroll down and make sure that all of those are populated at the very least. If I want to add more information, I can. Okay, so the next part is the budget header name. So as you can see, mine says month ended January 2025 and so on. When you do download it the first time, it's only going to give you 3 months, as well as the notes. If you would like to use the notes, you can absolutely do so. But if you don't need to, we can go ahead and just delete these. And the next step would be just copy and pasting, just this part, right? We want to make sure that it is for the full year. So I'll copy and paste it. For 12 months. And then what I would need to do is just go back over here and change the header. And so on, right? So it'll be April, May, June, all the way to December 2025. But for this example, we'll just use 3 months. The next thing would be just adding the amounts, making sure that this is in a number format so we do not get those errors. And going to File, Save As, and making sure it is as a CSV format. We'll go ahead and save that. And then we'll go ahead and choose File and make sure that we are choosing the right one. So this one would be the Excel CSV format for my budget. I'll go ahead and import that in. Oops. And then when I was talking about that date format, so I'm making sure that it is in the correct date format, the file encoding, as well as the value delimiter. And then lastly, having your email for the results. So I'll click on import. It will tell me that this will notify me once it has been complete, the import. So let's go back and say that this was my budget. This was my budget in the beginning, where I just put in the department title, which should have been the ID, as well as the location ID, which I just put the name of the location. So the error I received was this, saying that the location, which was USA 2, is not valid. And I can also open this up, showing me that this is the location that is not valid. I would need to go ahead and change it. So this requires an ID and not the name. So I went ahead and substituted that and replaced it with location 200, which was the correct location for USA 2. And I received a successful notification saying that it was a success and imported successfully was just one budget. Done. And then I can go ahead and click on my master budget. And then this is the master budget as the showing the account ID, the title, and then the dimensions. If I want to go ahead and click into one of these budgets, I can see that I have these 3 months, so January, February, and March have been added since we only added 3 months. And then same goes for any of these other GL accounts. So yeah, that is pretty much it as far as importing your budget.
But thank you so much, Zalmai, for that great presentation and demo. And so with that, thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate your time and look forward to connecting with you again soon.